Giraffes Can't Dance by Giles Andre and Guy Parker Rees. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees, but when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. Now, every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance, where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad, because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. The warthogs started waltzing, and the rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango that was elegant and bold. The chimps all did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked toward the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar.
"Hey, look at clumsy Gerald,"
the animals all sneered.
"Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, you're so weird."
Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. They're right, he thought. I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot. So he crept off from the dance floor, and he started walking home. He'd never felt so bad before, so sad and so alone. Then he found a little clearing, and he looked up at the sky.
"The moon can be so beautiful,"
he whispered with a sigh.
"Excuse me,"
coughed a cricket, who'd seen Gerald early on.
"but sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song."
Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze.
So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to.
With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying. His tail was swishing around. He threw his legs out sideways, and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. "I am dancing! Yes, I'm dancing! I am dancing!" Gerald cried. Then one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted,
"It's a miracle. We must be in a dream. Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen."
"How did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above.
"We all can dance," he said, "when we find music that we love."
God cares for me. God gave me a bed and a warm place to sleep. God gave me food and good things to eat. God gave me clothes and shoes to wear. God gave me a home and a family who cares. Wild Animal Adventures, Sesame Street. Grover is reading about amazing animals, elephants, giraffes, birds, and more. Can you imagine what it would be like to see such amazing animals in real life? Grover wonders. Grover asks his friends to imagine with him. "Let's imagine an animal adventure," Grover says. Grover snaps a picture of a zebra as it zips past him. Big Bird and Bert spy some parrots perching in the trees. Abby sees a giraffe in the distance. "Look at all the spots," she says. Grover watches a big rhino rumble by. There are so many amazing animals to see. Thanks, everybody, for pretending with me, says Grover. I love us. I love when we play and make each other laugh. I love when we sing and dance. Acting silly together always feels right. I love when we share a snack. Next to you, my heart always smiles. I love when we are who we are because you make me happy, and I love us. A day with Rubber Ducky, Sesame Street style. Ernie is spending the day with Rubber Ducky. Ernie and Rubber Ducky take a walk down Sesame Street. They pass by Big Bird's nest. "Hi, Big Bird," says Ernie. Next, Ernie and Rubber Ducky join their friends in the park. Ernie and Rubber Ducky save the best for last, a relaxing bubble bath. Stephanie's Ponytail. Story by Robert Munsch. Art by Michael Martinchenko. One day, Stephanie went to her mom and said,
None of the kids in my class has a ponytail. I want a nice ponytail coming out right out in the back.
So Stephanie's mom gave her a nice ponytail coming right out the back. When Stephanie went to school, the other kids looked at her and said,
Ugly, ugly, very ugly.
Stephanie said,
It's my ponytail and I like it.
The next morning, when Stephanie went to school, all the other girls had ponytails coming out the back. Stephanie looked at them and said,
You are all a bunch of copycats. You just do whatever I do. You don't have a brain in your heads.
The next morning, the mom said, Stephanie, would you like a ponytail coming out the back? Stephanie said no. Then that's that, said her mom. That's the only place you can do ponytails.
No, it's not,
said Stephanie.
I want one coming out the side, just above my ear.
Very strange, said the mom. Are you sure that's what you want?
Yes,
said Stephanie. So her mom gave Stephanie a nice ponytail coming right out above her ear. When she went to school, the other kids saw her and said,
Ugly, ugly, very ugly.
Stephanie said,
It's my ponytail and I like it.
The next morning, when Stephanie came to school, all the girls and even some of the boys had nice ponytails coming out just above their ear. The next morning, the mom said, Stephanie, would you like a ponytail coming out the back? Stephanie said, no. Would you like one coming out the side? No. Then that's that, her mom said. There's no other place you can do ponytails.
Yes, there is,
said Stephanie.
I want one coming out the top of my head like a tree.
That's very, very strange, said her mom. Are you sure that's what you want?
Yes,
said Stephanie. So her mom gave Stephanie a nice ponytail coming out the top of her head like a tree. When Stephanie went to school, the other kids saw her and said, Ugly, ugly, very ugly. Stephanie said,
It's my ponytail, and I like it.
The next day, all of the girls and all of the boys had ponytails coming out of the top. It looked like broccoli was growing out of their heads. The next morning, the mom said, Stephanie, would you like a ponytail coming out the back? Stephanie said,
No.
Would you like one coming out the side?
No.
Would you like one coming out the top?
No.
Then that is definitely that, said the mom. There is no other place you can do ponytails,
Yes, there is,
said Stephanie.
I want one coming out the front, hanging down in front of my nose.
But no one will know if you're coming or going, her mom said. Are you sure that's what you want?
Yes.
Stephanie said. So her mom gave Stephanie a nice ponytail coming out the front. On the way to school, she bumped into 4 trees, 3 cars, 2 houses, and 1 principal. When she finally got to her class, the other kids saw her and said, "Ugly,
Ugly,
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 very
very
ugly."
ugly.
Stephanie said,
It's my ponytail, and I like it.
The next day, all of the girls and all of the boys, and even the teacher, had ponytails coming out the front and hanging down in front of their noses. None of them could see where they were going. They bumped into desks and they bumped into each other. They bumped into walls, and by mistake, 3 girls went into the boys' bathroom. Stephanie yelled,
You are all a bunch of brainless copycats. You just do whatever I do. When I come tomorrow, I'm going to have shaved my head.
The first person to come the next day was the teacher. She had shaved her head, and she was bald. The next to come were the boys. They had shaved their heads, and they were bald. The next to come were the girls, and they shaved their heads, and they were bald. The last person to come was Stephanie, and she had a nice little ponytail coming right out the back. Frog and Toad Together by Arnold Lobel. The Garden. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. "What a fine garden you have, Frog," he said. "Yes," said Frog, "it is very nice, but it was hard work." "I wish I had a garden," said Toad. "Here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground," said Frog, "and soon you will have a garden." "How soon?" asked Toad. "Quite soon," said Frog. Toad ran home. He planted the flower seeds. "Now seeds," Toad said, "start growing." Toad walked up and down a few times. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head close to the ground and said loudly, "Now seeds, start growing." Toad looked at the ground again. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head very close to the ground and shouted, "Now seeds, start growing." Frog came running up the path. "What is all this noise?" he asked. "My seeds will not grow," said Toad. "You are shouting too much," said Frog. "These poor seeds are afraid to grow." "My seeds are afraid to grow?" asked Toad. "Of course," said Frog. "Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them. Let the rain fall on them. Soon your seeds will start to grow." That night, Toad looked out of his window. "Drat," said Toad. "My seeds have not started to grow. They must be afraid of the dark." Toad went out to his garden with some candles. "I will read the seeds a story," said Toad. "Then they will not be afraid." Toad read a long story to his seeds. And the next day, Toad sang songs to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad played music for his seeds. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. "What shall I do?" cried Toad. "These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world." Then Toad felt very tired, and he fell asleep. "Toad, Toad, wake up," said Frog. "Look at your garden." Toad looked at his garden. Little green plants were coming up out of the ground. "At last," Toad shouted, "my seeds have stopped being afraid to grow. And now you will have a nice garden too," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad, "but you were right, Frog. It was very hard work."